All right, on deck here on TBS. Big City best of 5 between the New York Mets and the Los Angeles Dodgers here from Chavez Ravine. The Mets, the champions of the National League East with a 90-win season, 92 wins for the Dodgers. The 2015 National League Division Series coverage on TBS presented by T-Mobile. It's the Mets, it's the Dodgers, it's Jacob deGrom, it's Clayton Kershaw. We got a great matchup moments away here on TBS. And we'll be back with the first pitch right after this. In Los Angeles, California, great look at Chavez Ravine as the Dodgers get set to play the New York Mets in Game 1 of the National League Division Series. Temperature right now 90 degrees. It was triple digits today in this area, and it's beginning to cool off just a bit. Or is it just me? Ron Darling, Cal Ripken, along with me. I'm Ernie Johnson, and boy, this should be something. You know, Ronnie, the pitching matchup, people have looked at this all week long and said, oh, if these two teams meet, Clayton Kershaw, Jacob deGrom, doesn't get much better than that.
You know, you're thinking about it, Kershaw and Greinke are the top of the food chain, and the young Mets pitchers just as talented, but that's where they want to be someday, where Kershaw and Greinke were all year this year.
Meantime, Cal, when you look at both of these teams, the Mets had a tremendous month of August. They were 20-8. Yoenis Cespedes, a huge addition to that team.
Yeah, Cespedes was the big bat that Sandy Alderson wanted to add. Their offense wasn't producing at all. I think it started with Juan Uribe and Kelly Johnson, and then the big bat was added, and then all of a sudden everybody felt that they could be in their role, and that offense now is quite potent to go with that power pitching lineup that they have.
And I know you cannot wait to see this kid in postseason action for the Dodgers. Corey Seager starting at shortstop, hitting third for the Dodgers.
Yeah, Corey Seager, I went in there, had to meet him today. Just want to see how big he was. They said he was a big shortstop, and yes, he is. He's about 6'5", 225. I was a little bit surprised that they put him in September in a pennant race, but Rollins got hurt. They inserted him in, and all he did was go ahead and hit 337, and now he's hitting third in this lineup in the playoff game.
Well, they brought him up really just to be a defensive replacement, but then he took shortstop position over.
Tonight's batting order is presented by T-Mobile. Curtis Granderson leads it off for the Mets, followed by David Wright. There is Cespedes in the 3-hole, followed by Daniel Murphy. Travis d'Arnaud is the catcher, hitting fifth. Then it's Lucas Duda, Michael Kadire in left, Ruben Tejada at short, and Jacob deGrom does the pitching for the New York Mets.
Yeah, here's the defense tonight that the Dodgers are going to put behind Clayton Kershaw. There he is on the mound. He's throwing to A.J. Ellis tonight. And as we moved around the infield on the corners, you got Adrian Gonzalez we talked about, Justin Turner, Corey Seager and Howie Kendrick up the middle, double play combination. Then you go to the outfield. You got Jock Peterson in center, Carl Crawford, Gold Glove winner, and Andre Ethier, also a Gold Glover winner in right field.
Clayton Kershaw on the mound for the Los Angeles Dodgers. 3 Cy Young awards to his credit, and a great second half as well.
Guys, here's the bad news for the Mets. In his last 8 starts, he's 6-0. His ERA is 0.79. But the Mets came here on the day before July 4th. They weren't playing particularly well. They weren't hitting the ball well. They faced Kershaw. They got tied through 7 innings, and ended up beating the Dodgers bullpen. That's the kind of game the Mets are looking for tonight.
Remember back at the All-Star break, and people looked at Clayton Kershaw's 500 record, 6-6. Said, hey, is this not the same Clayton Kershaw who after the All-Star break went 10-1 with an ERA of 1.31. Curtis Granderson steps in, and we are underway. That ball is hit well to right on the button, but Ethier hauls it in. 1 down.
I've never seen a game plan revealed after 1 pitch. The Mets offense already saying, we are not letting a fastball go by.
Well, Terry Collins said that you want to work Kershaw. You want to get his pitch count up. And then right away you go out there. You got to hit a good pitcher early in the count. There's no doubt about it. But you got to get a good pitch to hit. Don't swing at his pitch. And that was a good pitch to hit.
And here's David Wright.
And now he feels like he probably has to take this pitch.
And he did not. Hacking at the first one right back to the screen. Wright missed 115 games this year. He had what was described as a mild right hamstring strain, later diagnosed as spinal stenosis. And actually at one point this season on a trip out here as he was getting treatment, he talked to Don Mattingly about it, the manager of the opposing team, the Dodgers. And Mattingly had some back issues in his career and was able to kind of reassure David Wright and kind of tell him to stick with his rituals and just work on that to get back to a playing shape. And sure enough, he did, and here he is hitting second for the Mets in Game 1.
I think the big advice from Mattingly right there was to modify your workouts. I also had back problems, L4-5, and the more you swing, especially the movement where you're moving your hips and torquing like that, that wears you out. So you want to make sure that you get ready, but don't overdo it.
Big breaking pitch and off the end of the bat of David Wright.
Good sign there by David Wright. That was an awfully good breaking ball by Kershaw, able to stay in the at-bat. Kershaw's going to throw that good, powerful fastball, the good overhand curveball. He'll also cut that ball in and down on the right-handed hitters.
Down low, and the count full to David Wright.
Now there's that attempt at that cutter, that hard slider. It looks like a fastball coming in on the inside part, then breaks off. That was a little bit too low. Wasn't good enough to fish for.
Payoff pitch from Kershaw. Got a piece.
That's one thing that you know about Kershaw is just because he has a fastball in the 95-mile-an-hour range on 3 and 2 doesn't mean you're going to get one.
It means you're never going to get anything straight. That's what you get from Kershaw. Do they change it up here, though? A.J. Ellis, his battery mate.
Yeah, back to the fastball coming in. Great battle right now.
It's that great seesaw. It's a good breaking ball, that good cutter down and in, and then when he thinks he's looking in, then throw that high riding fastball. David still staying in a great at bat.
Another payoff from Kershaw to Wright. And again, just a tip. And we'll do it again.
You know what's interesting, before the game, Don Mattingly said that during the season he used Yasmani Grandal and A.J. Ellis to catch Kershaw. Ellis caught Kershaw all last season when he won over 20 games. What he wanted in having Ellis behind the plate, no frustration from Kershaw. He knew they're on the same wavelength.
Comes that slider again.
And the battle rages on.
I used to love these at-bats right here because you get to feel like you know exactly what his pitchers are doing. Now, the only thing better than is if you make a statement. Hit a ball hard, hit a line drive, get a base hit, then it gives you something else to look for in your second and third at-bat.
Wright did everything he could, much of it in Los Angeles with the doctors, to get on the field with the Mets so he could have this feeling once again like he did in 2006. What an at-bat he's taken.
He retired Granderson on one pitch. 11 now to David Wright.
Back to the slider again.
And Wright wins the battle. Throws a one-out walk.
For you folks at home, sometimes you don't understand a walk, how inspirational that can be to your teammates and how frustrating that can be to the starting pitcher.
Now if David comes up with guys in scoring position, he has a good idea of what Clayton has tonight.
Here's Cespedes. Alan Porter is the home plate umpire. Threw up the right hand, 0-1.
We had that good number, that what he does on first pitch, but true to form, Cespedes as a Met very rarely swung at the first pitch.
He played 57 games for New York, knocked in 44 runs, hit 17 home runs, and had a huge cut there.
Got good postseason numbers too. 14 for 40, 350, 1 home run, 6 RBIs. He likes the big stage.
He likes that fluorescent sleeve on the left arm as well. Part of that whole parakeet at Citi Field thing. Ball players do that.
Crossing guard tomorrow morning.
No balls and 2 strikes. Kershaw throws over.
I wouldn't expect the Mets to do much on the bases or run. They're a power hitting team. they're not going to make their outs on the bases unnecessarily.
Kershaw, though, with 10 pickoffs this year, he has a great move.
Cespedes goes down swinging for out number 2.
Good out. The fastball in, first pitch. Here comes that hard slider. I think he made a couple of better sliders to Cespedes. That's the best one right in the end. Looks exactly like a fastball coming in and just breaks down underneath the bat of Cespedes. Great slider right there.
So Wright still at first. Now 2 down for Daniel Murphy, the Mets cleanup hitter. And he takes a strike 0-1.
That's 96 right down the middle. It's a good pitch to swing at if it wasn't so hard.
Well, you got Kershaw, who struck out 301 this year against Murphy, toughest guy to fan in baseball. And it's 0-2. Tonight's Chevrolet pitch tracks. You look at the arsenal for Clayton Kershaw.
And the home plate umpires, they get excited too. That ball looked a little low on our pitch tracks.
A couple of pitches at 96. Adrenaline's flowing a little bit. Normally he pitches in between 93 and 95, but he has that little extra when he needs it.
I've played in a lot of playoff games here. I've done a lot of games here from the booth. This is the loudest I've ever heard this place this early.
Again, a throw over by Kershaw, and Wright steps back.
That's not his good move, is it, Ronnie?
No, it's not. But he's also very quick to the plate because he doesn't really raise his leg. He has more of a slide step towards home.
Tom Goodwin, the first base coach of the New York Mets, makes a new friend as he fields that foul ball, throws it into the stands here at Dodger Stadium. Tom could steal himself a base, 369 in his career. Count remains 0-2 to Daniel Murphy.
Well, the Mets are doing exactly what you were addressing, Cal. Even though Granderson made it out on the first pitch, Terry Collins said drive up that pitch count. You've got to get him up around 100 at least through 6 innings into the 7th.
David Wright really battled and worked a walk. Murphy right here is hanging in there. So a curveball and a slider to stay alive.
Tried to check, couldn't. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Clayton Kershaw. And now the stage belongs to Jacob deGrom. Middle of the first, game 1. Beautiful Friday evening here in Los Angeles. Tonight's batting order is presented by T-Mobile. Carl Crawford leads it off for the Dodgers. Then Howie Kendrick, the kid Corey Seager hits third. Then the veteran, 12 years in the league, Adrian Gonzalez. Justin Turner hits fifth, and Andre Ethier, A.J. Ellis, Jock Peterson, the rookie, and Clayton Kershaw doing the pitching and batting ninth. And here is Jacob deGrom.
All career high numbers for Jacob. They gave him 12 days off in September to try to regroup, and after that he got back on that fastball, had that good downward plane, and threw 10 innings and only gave up a run.
97 miles an hour on the first two offerings to Carl Crawford. The 1-1. 97 again. But out of the strike zone, 2 balls and a strike.
It's been an effective pitch for him with 2 strikes, but I think he just overthrew that one.
Well, the key when you watch Jacob pitch is that you want to see him down early in the count. Then he can elevate that fastball when he needs to strike out. 59 runs is only the amount he gave up this year, but 16 of them in the first inning.
And he threw it right past Crawford for out number 1.
That's intentionally elevating the fastball right here. You got 2 strikes on him. You can see the target up a little higher. It hits a little bit above the target, but that's a pitch that's almost impossible to get. Missed that by a good 6 inches.
Well, you can say about deGrom, the only start he's had this year where his heart could be this elevated was in the All-Star game. What did he do there? Only struck out the side on 10 pitches.
Yeah, Stephen Vogt and Jason Kipnis and Jose Iglesias, the victims in that 6th inning at the All-Star game. Howie Kendrick waits on an 0-1 from the slender right-hander. 0-2. You know the adrenaline's got to be through the roof with this kid. How do you channel it, Ronnie?
Well, he's a quiet assassin. If you talk to him when he's off the mound, everything is just cool and easy. He's one of those guys, there's no drama with Jacob deGrom. You just let him every 5th day go out and do his job. We talked about him being a shortstop in college. He's a tremendous athlete, and now he's turned into a tremendous competitor on the mound.
No balls, 2 strikes. How to play it on the right side.
Yeah, I was wondering when we were going to see a breaking ball, because when somebody throws 97, 98 with that sort of explosion, you might not need a breaking ball to the 3rd or 4th inning. That was a slider, stayed over the middle of the plate at 93.
Well hit, base hit to right. Kendrick just reached out and rifled it into right field. 4th member of our crew is Sam Ryan, who's on the field. Sam.
Yeah, Ernie, and with this start, Corey Seager makes history. He's the youngest Dodgers position player to start a playoff game in franchise history. He's 21, and since September 3rd, he has been their hottest hitter. Don Mattingly said, I like everything about this guy, his demeanor, his confidence, and guys, he has the numbers.
337, 4 home runs, 17 runs batted in for a guy who made his debut on September 3rd. Takes a breaking pitch over 0-1.
Yeah, a little respect for that young guy. First pitch slider, even though you got a 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
What do you remember most about your first postseason start? I didn't need the shave.
No balls and 2 strikes. There's Jimmy Rollins, of course, who came over from Philadelphia and who saw Corey Seager play so well that he took that starting shortstop job away. Had a notion held up. A ball and 2 strikes. Seager reached safely in his first 21 games, which was the longest streak in LA Dodgers history. Junior Gilliam did it in Brooklyn 24 in a row back in 1953, but in LA Dodger history, it was a record for Corey Seager.
You just saw a throw over to first base. If you're looking at home and watch the catcher's position, many times they move inside. That kind of gives away the pickoff play. In case the hitter takes a glance down to see where he was, it always seems to be inside. Now he's going back away again.
And he sets down the 21-year-old rookie on strikes.
He starts him off, as I said, with a breaking ball, gets ahead on this pitch, and then haven't seen a fastball yet, had a little run to it, half swing, lays off the high fastball, and then comes back and cannot lay off that one. Strikes him out with a high 90s fastball.
And now he faces one of the best all-around hitters in baseball in Adrian Gonzalez. Power to all fields, can really handle the bat, and is hit .375 against DeGrom with a couple of home runs.
He's really been the only Dodger hitter that has handled the big three of the Mets who are going to start the first 3 games in this series. DeGrom, Syndergaard, Harvey. He has 4 home runs against.
Howie Kendrick is a runner at first. The 1-0 from DeGrom to Gonzalez. Nibbled at the corner and missed 2-0.
Well, Egon's got a really good eye at the plate, so he's going to make him come over the strike zone. And he knows, he's experienced, that he can provide the power by shortening his swing and allowing the fastball velocity to add some power. Good power to all fields.
Missed again, 3-0.
There's always that little test back and forth between pitcher, and umpire. How much is he going to give me on the outside corner? Giving nothing so far to DeGrom's Porter.
Takes a strike, 3-1.
I think DeGrom remembers that he took him deep twice, so he's being extra careful, trying to stay out there on the outside edge.
DeGrom is 27. He's 3 months younger than Clayton Kershaw. Three and two.
That was a 3-1 slider at 90 miles an hour. And if that flattens out, that becomes a mediocre fastball. I mean, for him, his slider is as good as many people's fastball.
But after 4 straight fastballs, that's a pretty good pitch, 3-1. You said they're both 27 years old. DeGrom a little younger. His career got started a little later because of Tommy John. Kershaw 114 wins. DeGrom 23.
Kendrick will be on the move at first. There he goes. And Gonzalez goes down swinging. DeGrom allows 1 hit. Strikes out 3. We're heading to the second. Let's take a look at tonight's MLB Memory Bank presented by Bank of America. We're going all the way back to last Sunday. That's when Clayton Kershaw notched strikeout number 300 and 301. Only pitcher in the bigs to eclipse that mark this year. Travis d'Arnaud leads it off for the New York Mets, and what a special night this is for him. Grew up about 20 minutes from Dodger Stadium. Always grew up idolizing Mike Piazza, who was catching for the Dodgers at that time, and wasn't able to play when the Dodgers and the Mets played here earlier this season because he had a hyperextended elbow. So this is the first time he's played at Dodger Stadium. We used to come and watch the Dodgers growing up. On the ground to third, Justin Turner. 1 down.
First baseman number 21, Lucas Duda.
Well, Lucas Duda steps in for the Mets now. Big guy with power, and he's had some success against left-handed pitching this year as well. He's hit 7 home runs against lefties. That one's right off the foot of Kershaw, and there will be no play. And let's see how Kershaw is.
I think he's fine. Looked to me like he got that in the shoe and not the ankle, just by the sound it made. No one's going out there.
It was a kick save, though, intentionally. He tried to keep it in the infield.
Yeah, just off the back of his foot. Directed, but not hard enough.
It was interesting. Egon could have got to that ball, but he couldn't have stepped on first base. So he was trying to get Kershaw to come over and him stay at first base.
Another first pitch swinging by the Mets.
Now here's Michael Kadire. Kadire, the longtime Minnesota Twin, also played in Colorado, won a batting title there with the Rockies. A ball and a strike.
Kadire was asked, does it help if you've seen Clayton Kershaw a lot of at-bats? He goes, not really.
Yeah, he's had 16 at-bats with moderate success. He's got 4 hits.
One ball and 2 strikes. Kershaw's swing and miss percentage has gone up to nearly 33% in 2015. And there's another one to Kadire for the second out.
And that sequence shows how good Kershaw is. He throws really 2 bottom sliders that he misses for 2 strikes, and then comes back with an off-speed breaking ball that has the perception of the slider. But it gets fooled by the break and by the speed of this pitch.
You very rarely see in baseball the 12-6 curveball. Kershaw owns it.
And back to that stat provided by our ace stat man Hal Galima, 26% or so in 2013 swing and miss percentage, up to 28% in 2014, and up to nearly 33% this season for Clayton Kershaw.
Usually it goes the other way, doesn't it? You start to learn how to get outs earlier and they make contact, save yourself a few pitches. Could he be getting nastier as he goes?
You see, when he goes into the stretch, the arms straight over his head, says that's to so he remembers to breathe.
Good swing there by Tejada. 2 reasons he's in this lineup. He's the best defensive infielder for the Mets, and he's 5 for 14 off Kershaw. One of the few Mets who has some good numbers.
And every time you start looking at a list as you get ready for a game and say, okay, what are this guy's numbers? Okay, you write down a lot of 1 for 10s, 0 for 7, 1 for 10, and then you say, oh, is that for real? 5 for 14 for Tejada. Indeed it is. The 0-1. No balls and 2 strikes. Kershaw with 3 strikeouts here in the early going. And again, they're on their feet here at Dodger Stadium. Breaking pitch got him. 4th strikeout for the 3-time Cy Young winner. We head to the bottom of the 2nd. Provided by Goodyear. Everything Goodyear has learned making tires that go the distance inspires what they roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven. Justin Turner leads it off here in the bottom half of the 2nd against Jacob deGrom. Turner spent some time in the Mets uniform.
In fact, you never know what events will transpire. When he was with the Mets, he was teammates with Marlon Byrd, who really worked with Turner to try to hit the ball in front of the plate more, produce a little more power. He was just then a utility player. Through 2014, he had 15 home runs and over 1,000 at-bats. And this year, 16 home runs and 385 at-bats. Big difference.
1 ball, 1 strike pitch. Down low, 2-1.
Because sometimes hitters interpret letting the ball get deep, not to let the full bat speed get out there. So when you hit the ball out front, that's your optimum point of contact where the bat is flying the fastest.
Three balls and one strike.
Steady diet of sliders for Mr. Turner.
Turner thought it was ball 4. Gonna have to put that shin guard back on and brace for a 3-2 pitch.
I hope the Velcro still works. We talked before, he gave a low pitch to Kershaw, now returns the favor to DeGrom.
To left. Ball's well hit, and it's going to be off the wall. That's going to be a double for Turner on a ball that appeared to be right in the sights of Michael Kadire, but it took off over his head.
Just a low line drive. It has some backspin on it. Kadire starts in a little bit, then they can't get back to the wall.
For a while now, Kadire's had a balky knee, and when the Mets have been playing against left-handed pitching, Lagares has played center field and Cespedes has played left field. They've made the change for this first game tonight.
So a runner in scoring position here in the second. And Andre Ethier steps in.
It's like as a hitter, you're saying to yourself, okay, let me just pull this ball to the right side. He's throwing 98 miles an hour.
Yeah, I was just going to speak to the productive out, trying to get out there and cut down on your stride, use your wrist a little bit more to pull this pitch. But when it's 98 on the outside edge, that's kind of hard to do.
0-2.
Ethier has gone through a lot in the last couple of years as a Dodger. Got lost in the shuffle, really, once Yasiel Puig established himself as kind of a fourth or fifth outfielder. Now back in the role he likes best, starting.
Turner with a lead at second, the 0-2. Breaking pitch missed, a ball and 2 strikes. Yasiel Puig is on the Dodger roster. It's been an injury-plagued season for him. Ethier getting the start in right field tonight.
Hasn't had that many at-bats, so Don's not prone to playing. Probably starts him against the lefty in game 4. But pinch run, pinch hit, he can still make a lot of things happen.
Ethier waiting on a 1-2 from DeGrom. And the count even. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Turner, who doubled over the head of Kadire to lead off the second. Edges away from the bag as we await a 2-2 to Ethier. Tried to check his swing. He didn't think he went, obviously.
Well, he's arguing with the home plate umpire because Alan Porter called it. Nothing irks hitters more than the home plate umpire calling that, Cal. They want the third base umpire to call it.
Yeah, I didn't have to say it, Ronnie. You said it best. He might have gone right there, but again, my contention is that that's why the umpire's down there at the third baseline to call that check swing. It's so difficult to look at a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, concentrate on it and see where the pitch is, and then take your eyes off of it and see the swing. You're only seeing part of the swing.
Here's A.J. Ellis. In a little bit tight, 1-0.
AJ, one of the great characters of the game, but he's been producing at the plate since July 1st.
And DeGrom into the wide when time is called.
We've seen some anxious moments so far from the home plate umpire. I think this is too late, Cal.
I couldn't see when he asked for time. Didn't put his hand up. Sometimes you're standing there as a hitter and it's too long and your eyes start to water. You start to stare. Then you got to get out of there and start blinking to get back in.
Way upstairs, 2-0.
Ellis has got some pop and a pretty good fastball hitter. I believe he's going to get one right here.
Well, left-handed hitters so far against DeGrom, 0 for 4 with 4 Ks. Right-handed hitters are 2 for 2 so far.
There's a strike. 2-1.
97 on the black in the 2-0 count. Tip your hat right there and hope you get a better pitch this time.
Count remains 2-2. To the 34-year-old Dodger catcher. And his reputation has been a guy who can really work counts, sees a lot of pitches. And he's in a second inning battle here with Jacob DeGrom. Turner with the lead at second. And DeGrom strikes him out. Official caps, hoodies, jackets, and more. Celebrate with your favorite team at the MLB.com shop. So there's been a single by Kendrick in this game, a double by Turner, and 5 strikeouts registered by Jacob DeGrom. And Jock Peterson steps in. Base open. Pitcher on deck. And Peterson, the rookie who's got all kinds of power, will draw the intentional walk. He has a lot of power. He strikes out a lot, too. But with the base open, they will pitch to Kershaw.
But he's so dangerous that you have to really put him on here. Now, the problem is that Kershaw is not an automatic out. He's a great athlete also. But this is the right move here. Had one of the best first halves you'll ever see a Dodger rookie have. 20 home runs he had in the first half, but only 6 in the second half.
He tied with Chris Bryant for the lead among rookies in the National League. So Peterson with the free pass is at first. Turner at second. And Clayton Kershaw steps to the plate. He does have 9 hits this year in 71 at bats, 127. Has a couple of runs batted in. And you remember a couple of years ago on opening day against the Giants, he got the win on the mound, and he also hit the game-winning home run in the 8th inning.
It was interesting, 62 hits in his last 5 seasons, most among pitchers.
Just not fair. He leads the world in everything.
How about that?
Ultimate respect.
First pitch curveball. We've seen a slider at 93. We've seen a fastball at 99. And he throws a curveball to Clayton Kershaw on the first pitch at about 84.
He's began 2 hitters with a curveball. Adrian Gonzalez and Clayton Kershaw.
Quickly ahead, 0-2. That foul past third. They got excited here at Dodger Stadium because contact was made.
That's one of those where you say the pitcher hit that ball out of the catcher's glove.
And a beach ball has gotten loose near the left field line.
2 outs, 2 strikes, so the runner should be off as Kershaw starts to swing. Get the benefit of getting a good jump here. You go on the swing, you don't go on the contact.
The 0-2. A 25-pitch inning with this next delivery for Jacob deGrom. All 6 outs have been by the K. 2 innings in the books at Chavez Ravine. Game 1, the NLDS.
All right, John, it's time for Priceless Surprises, courtesy of MasterCard.
Game 2 of this series, 9 o'clock tomorrow night Eastern Time from Los Angeles. Game 3 will be Monday at Citi Field in New York. Game 4, if we need it, would be Tuesday in New York. And if it goes the distance, it'll be back here on Thursday for Game 5. Top of the third. Just saw deGrom strike out Kershaw. Now Kershaw faces deGrom, who's a pretty darn good hitter.
Shockingly, against left-handed pitching, he's batting over 300. Jacob deGrom. Said it before, former shortstop at Stetson.
First 2 years, shortstop, third base, and then converted to a pitcher. 186, 11 for 59. Has 4 RBIs this year. Ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, he's got a popular stance nowadays, an open stance, but he's a little bit more open than normal, but looks really hitterish. You got to bring that front side back when you start out in that position. Watch, he starts to get really wide. Good balance as a hitter, though. You can see why he's had success at the plate. The idea on the open stance in general is just that you get a better look at the ball from the start. But that key to hitting is that front shoulder has to get back in and has to close. Just like in pitching, you got to aim your front shoulder to get anything behind it.
2-2 is tapped to first. Gonzalez with the flip. Tell you what, DeGrom ran that thing out. They beat him by a step.
It's funny, on a similar ball in late July that DeGrom hit, almost the same hit over to Gonzalez. Gonzalez tried to come home. Why? Because Zach Greinke was working on a 45 2/3 scoreless inning streak, and that ended it. He got an RBI on that play.
You know, it almost looks unusual when you see a pitcher hustling down the line. They tell the pitchers not to run fast, right? Or kind of run slow so you don't injure your legs. It's more valuable on the mound.
Some of these guys feel like they're one of the 9 athletes. I love to watch it.
Here's Curtis Granderson, who swung at the first pitch of the game, which probably took the Dodgers by surprise.
He hadn't done it in his last 72 plate appearances. I never want to play poker against Curtis Granderson.
Boy, that's a tantalizing breaking ball, and somehow it is ball 1. Count is 1-1. Granderson watched it float over, but out of his own. 2-1.
Set a career high this year with 91 walks. I asked him recently how long did he know before the first game of the season that he was going to be the leadoff hitter. He said about 4 hours.
Tried to check, couldn't hold up. 2-2.
He's a different player than when he hit back-to-back 40 home run seasons with the Yankees, but he had one of his best career seasons this year for the Mets.
Had 26 home runs, knocked in 70. Among the leaders in runs scored with 98. Just a little blooper that is going to fall in shallow left field. One out single for Granderson here in the 3rd.
Looks like he fought off a breaking ball here, stayed on top of it. It's one of those balls that's right in between everyone.
They don't have a shift for that hit yet.
He hit a ball right on the screws his first time, nothing to show for it. Yes, a little Texas leaguer here in the 3rd, so he's at first with 1 out, and here's Wright.
They say they all even out, but I never believe that.
Again, that elongated stretch by Kershaw, and then to the plate. 0-1. David Wright this year became the longest tenured player in Major League Baseball. His time with the Mets now exceeding Chase Utley, who was dealt by the Phillies to the Dodgers. And when that happened, Wright became the longest tenured player, just by a hair over Ryan Howard. He's been the face of the franchise, Ronnie, and a solid citizen and pretty darn good baseball player, especially when healthy.
And when they added him, when he came back in August, captain of the ball club, there were a couple of things that he's had to take care of down the stretch, and he's taken care of them in a great way.
He's behind in the count, 0-2. And a little late, but a straight 3 called.
That's a backdoor slider right here. David Wright says, no, that didn't come back to the outside corner.
And on our pitch tracks, he was right. What happens with a lot of hitters against a pitcher like Kershaw, their first mention to the umpire, he doesn't need any help.
I just did a quick scan of all the Ks in the game so far. All of them are swinging except that one.
That is the 5th for Kershaw, and here is Cespedes. Struck out swinging his first time. See the 3 infielders on the left side as Don Mattingly's Dodgers employ the shift against Cespedes.
This is the first time I've seen this kind of shift used against Cespedes. Makes me feel as though they're going to try to pitch him in and tight, especially with that slider or fastball up out of the strike zone. Anything down to Cespedes, though, that is his power area.
Ran it in and missed. 2 balls and no strikes.
You see it all the time against left-handers. You don't see it to this extreme against right-handers too often. Agon is holding Granderson on over at first base, which creates a huge gap and a huge hole over there to hit a fly ball or ground ball through.
Cespedes, between the Tigers and the Mets, hit 35 home runs this year, knocked in 105 runs. And again with the Mets in just 57 games, 17 home runs, 44 runs batted in, hitting .287.
He had a little home run drought there towards the end. He hit 17 in the first 41 games.
This will be pitch number 50 from Clayton Kershaw, and it's fouled straight back to the screen, 2-2.
Well, this is what I was talking about before. Home runs by zone. You see down the bottom of that strike zone, he's got tremendous power. I bet you those 9 up and in are those hanging kind of sliders that stay in the inside part of the plate.
Yeah, hanging mistakes. He's definitely geared to hit the low ball. Good low ball fastball hitter, good low ball breaking ball hitter.
Granderson leads from first, and Kershaw with the toss over.
.55 pickoffs. Don't expect him to go here. Cespedes is in scoring position when he's at the plate.
Struck him out. Strikeout number 6 for Clayton Kershaw. Jacob deGrom has struck out 6 through 2. He comes out for the bottom half of the 3rd in a scoreless game. 2015 National League Division Series coverage on TBS is presented by T-Mobile. Carl Crawford, a swing and a miss here in the bottom half of the third against Jacob deGrom, who has struck out 6 through 2 innings.
Our friends at Elias tell us that in a postseason debut, deGrom is the first pitcher ever to strike out 6 in his first 2 innings.
Along the way, he has also allowed a single, a double in the second, and walked Jock Peterson intentionally to get to Kershaw, who he struck out to end the second. I didn't mean to tell you. What do they got? Powder River? Yes, indeed. Man alive. Crawford struck out his first time. A little pop-up. Who wants it? Tejada squeezes it. 1 down here in the third.
47, Howie Kendrick.
I remember saying when we were a kid, when everyone on both sides was striking out like this, he'd always say, hey, someone's got to take the donut off.
Here's Howie Kendrick. He singled in the first. Swings at the first pitch and grounds it to Tejada. And he throws to Duda. Quickly 2 up and 2 down. Look at the upcoming MLB postseason schedule. Tomorrow on TBS, you got the Cubs and the Cardinals as St. Louis holds serve in that one 4-0. Mets and Dodgers here from LA to follow. Coverage begins at 5 o'clock Eastern with MLB postseason pregame on TBS presented by Chrysler. Sunday MLB Network has the Royals and Astros now tied at a game apiece. That fly ball to left field got really confusing for Kadire. Was right down there by the line.
You know what's interesting about that, guys, is Seager lost sight of where that ball was going. He had no idea where it was, and neither did Michael Kadire. Watch the reaction first by Seager. Has no idea where it is. He thought he fouled it off. And then someone said, you better run, kid. And once he did, Kadire couldn't get over there. And the ball just drops in fair and bounces over for a ground rule double.
The ball carried really well down that line.
That's 2 balls that Kadire, though, but has misplayed.
The first one was against Kendrick in the first. And now Seager's at second with 2 down. Gonzalez swings and misses.
You're between a rock and a hard place here. You're facing a guy that's hit 2 home runs against you. You have a base open. You're facing Kershaw, but Turner behind Gonzalez already has a double against you.
Gonzalez struck out his first time and grounds this one foul up toward first.
Lagon came up aggressive after the first time. He got blown away with a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. He decided he was going to get a little more active early in the count.
Well, like all good starting pitchers, opponents are only hitting 145 with 2 outs with runners in scoring position off deGrom.
Ball bounces away, but Darno keeps it in front. What a look at Kadire on the fly ball by Seager and took a bad route.
Well, that's what it was, is that he came really flat across instead of diagonally straight towards the foul pole. That would have made it an easier play for him. Not an easy play, but a play he could have made.
With any kind of wind blowing in, sometimes the wind will swirl in the bowl of the stadium and push it down the lines, but I don't see any wind.
deGrom trying to pitch around it. Justin Turner waiting on deck. He doubled in the second. That was the ball that Kadire had trouble with.
Well, that was a good swing there by Egon. That was a perfect backdoor slider right on the corner, still able to foul it off. And I gave DeGrom's numbers. Adrian Gonzalez's numbers are fantastic with runners in scoring position.
Seager the runner at second. 2 down. Here comes the 2-2. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Egon's always been a really good RBI guy. And it seems like when he gets someone in scoring position, then his focus is at his best.
Biggest choice of the night for DeGrom. Does he try to just throw him by him again?
He struck him out. 7th strikeout for DeGrom, and a big one with a runner at second. Season with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Stay connected with highlights, replay reviews, scores, pitch tracking, live radio broadcasts, and more. Download the At Bat app today. Top half of the 4th. Daniel Murphy leading it off for the Mets in a scoreless game. And not surprisingly, guys, we expected runs to be at a premium. Expected that Kershaw and DeGrom, when they lock horns, it would be tough and tight. Has been so far. Murphy struck out his first time. one of 6 that Clayton Kershaw has struck out in the first 3 innings. That ball's well hit to right. I mean, really well hit to right. And the Mets are on the board. Daniel Murphy with a rocket into the Mets bullpen in right field. So the Mets break through. And here's Travis d'Arnaud. Takes a big cut, 0-1.
Murphy laid off a couple of pitches, got to a good hitter's count, 2-0. Got a groove fastball, and he didn't miss it.
14 home runs in the regular season. He goes deep here in the 4th. Kershaw ahead of d'Arnaud, 0-2.
How many times during the season do you think Kershaw has to face a cleanup hitter that's left-handed? But he got it in a 2-0 count, had to come with the fastball, and his 2014 postseason ended with Matt Adams, a left-hander, hit 3-run home run, and it starts here with Murphy with a home run.
d'Arnaud takes a called 3rd strike for the first out.
And here's that pitch we're talking about, a fastball, low and over the middle of the plate. Nice and quiet, quick swing. Ball goes a long way.
Remember, Murphy had 14 home runs this year. That was a career high for him.
I was trying to watch the second time around. You get a little bit different idea. You had a bat under your belt. There's an adjustment that might need to be made from the hitter standpoint.
No balls, 1 strike to Lucas Duda, who singled his first time. It was right up the middle, and Kershaw stuck out his foot. Kept the ball in the infield, but there was no play. Duda with 27 home runs, 7 of those off left-handed pitching.
Hard season to fathom for Lucas Duda. Really just had 3 spurts of power during the year. Incredibly streaky year this year for Duda.
Breaking pitch on the 1-2 missed. Count even, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Good power to all fields, though. When he was in his streaks, or one of those 3 streaks, left center field, center, right center field, it doesn't matter.
And he struck him out. They're going to have to throw down to first to complete it. 2 down. Let's take a look at StatCast, powered by Amazon Web Services. The exit velocity a shade over 105 miles an hour on the solo home run by Daniel Murphy.
Only 414 right there?
He's no Kyle Schwarber, but he's working on it.
Now here's Michael Kadire. Kadire hit 244 before the All-Star break, hit 302 after the break. And a couple of years ago, hitting 331, won the National League batting crown with the Colorado Rockies. Breaking pitch in the air to center. Jock Peterson for out number 3. But the Mets draw first blood. Daniel Murphy got one he liked. 1-0. Follow the postseason right from your phone with Team Stream by Bleacher Report. Get the latest MLB news, scores, and highlights all in the palm of your hand. Download Team Stream on the App Store or Google Play today. Bottom half of the fourth inning, and Justin Turner leads it off. He led off the bottom half of the second with a double over the head of Michael Kadire in left field. But the Dodgers could not chase him home.
I like how DeGrom is mixing in his changeup. You know, a lot of power early in the a lot of fastballs, and now the second time around he's starting to pitch a little bit and introducing an off-speed pitch that looks like the fastball.
Yeah, early on in the game, he looked like he was trying to strike out the world, which he was doing. But the most important thing is here, your shutdown inning for a good starting pitcher. His ERA is 1.72. You want to get your hitters back in the dugout after a big home run by Murphy.
Well, that big strikeout on Egon was off a changeup on a 3-2 count.
A 1-2. Line drive left field, base hit. Turner is 2 out of 2. Moments ago, Sam Ryan spoke with Mets manager Terry Collins.
Terry, Daniel Murphy giving you guys the lead, and you're getting those at-bats against Kershaw, as you told us earlier. What has encouraged you so much so far?
Well, he's so good. I mean, you got to look for a fastball, and you can't miss, as I told you earlier tonight. And if we know Clayton very, very well. We know he's very good. So we got to take advantage of his mistakes because he doesn't make very many of them. And we got to get Jake to get his pitch count down a little bit. He's used a lot of pitches so far.
How much with Jacob is it the adrenaline out there?
Well, a lot of it. He's all keyed up. You saw it in the first inning. But, I think he's kind of settling into his game right now.
Thanks a lot, Terry.
You bet.
Andre Ethier takes a ball outside. It's 1-0. Dodgers have had a runner in scoring position in the second and third, but have not scored. And there's a strike, though not many agreed with it here at Dodger Stadium. It's 1-1.
0 for 4 with runners in scoring position so far with 4 punch-outs.
Ethier had a good cut, followed straight back. A ball and 2 strikes.
You know, that interview Sam Ryan had with Terry Collins reminds me of our trip around the American League postseason last year when Ned Yost had managed 1,734 games before getting to the post. Terry Collins, 1,688 games managed, and this is his first postseason game.
Oldest manager in Major League Baseball at the age of 66, and is, again, as Ron points out, first time in the postseason, and his Mets have a 1-0 lead here in the fourth. And he fooled Ethier for the first out.
For 17, A.J. Ellis.
Strikeout number 8 on the night for DeGrom, whose high this season is 11 against the Cardinals. He's had double digits 5 times, well on his way to number 6. Here's A.J. Ellis. That's pretty 0-1.
So you're right, Cal. The slider into play more. The changeup to Gonzalez. Last inning to get the strikeout. Pitching more as opposed to throwing.
In the air near the Mets dugout, not a play. No balls and 2 strikes.
He has a good 4 pitches. Really good curveball. Terry Collins was saying he's probably going to get to use the curveball more, because when you throw that slider off your fastball, sometimes if you don't get the break on it, leave it over the plate, it's a hittable long distance pitch. That curveball will at least fool you by the speed and get you out in front. So the difference in 98 and 84 get you out in your front foot, and it doesn't hit the barrel of the bat.
Turner leads from first. Ellis in an 0-2 hole.
You saw that sign there, that little pinky away by Darno means he wants his pitcher to throw a dart. Just try to catch that corner. DeGrom missed. This, the wiggle one, means you want the ball to sink a little bit. The two-seam fastball.
Still setting up away, though.
Well, we talked about the mistake that Kershaw made to Murphy. DeGrom has made a couple of mistakes also. Dodgers have not been able to make contact yet, though.
You can get away with those mistakes when it's 98.
The 1-2 into right center field, base hit. Turner will hold up at second. 2 men on with 1 down here in the 4th.
Well, what do you expect from an A.J. Ellis at bat? A guy who battles, especially with 2 strikes.
This wasn't a changeup, a mistake changeup that stayed up out over the plate. He stays on it, pushes it to right center field. I thought at first it might give a chance for Turner to turn it on and try to go first or third. Granderson does a good job of closing.
Third straight inning that the Dodgers have had a runner in scoring position, trying to cash in here in the 4th. They trail 1-0.
Peterson's hitting 386 on the first pitch.
Swinging at the first pitch here. Fly ball to left. Kadire on. And he squeezes it for the second out.
He was geared for the first pitch. He popped it up.
Well, Peterson had been intentionally walked his first time in the second to get to Kershaw, who struck out to end the inning. And now the Dodger left-hander will bat with runners at first and second and 2 down. A strike at 96. 0-1.
Look at that. He got that change-up grip that he holds behind his back and then changes in his glove if he wants to go to the fastball.
Yeah, it's interesting you pick up on that. You want to load it up as a changeup, because if you load it up as a fastball and then you try to change your grip, sometimes you tip the pitches to either the base runner or the guy at home plate because you move your glove and widen your glove. So it's good to start with the pitch that's most difficult to grip.
Again, Kershaw basically taking a pitch out of the catcher's mitt to stay alive.
I mean, Clayton's choking up. He's doing everything he can do, but barely makes contact with that pitch.
If I'm Crawford on the on-deck circle, I'm ready.
Heads up.
Yes.
Runners lead from first and second. Kershaw trying to help himself out here in the 4th, and that's downstairs.
You don't expect a hit from Kershaw off DeGrom, but the only real outfield arm you have is Cespedes in center field, and he's got one of the best in all of baseball.
The 1-2. Down even.
Now there's that changeup again, Ronnie. I know he struck him out the first time on that changeup, but when you're taking the ball out of the catcher's glove at 97, 98, And this pitch is 87. If you make a mistake and throw that over the plate, you're giving the hitter a chance.
85 to 87 is pitcher's hitting speed, by the way.
That's just a tough pitch call right there for me.
Little gamesmanship, and nicely done by Kershaw. Timeout. Make him wait.
Turner at second, Ellis at first. Kershaw waiting on a 2-2. Three and two. Runners will be on the move from first and second. See if Kershaw can put it in play. To center field. Cespedes has a long way to go. Back at the track, and he hauls it in. Kershaw gave it a ride. But Cespedes able to make the catch. It's a 1-0 game as we head to the fifth. Top half of the fifth inning here from Dodger Stadium. Game one of the NLDS between the Mets and the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw, Jacob deGrom, the game one pitching matchup. Kershaw's allowed only 3 hits and has struck out 8, but he has also allowed a long home run to Daniel Murphy for the only run of the game. Ruben Tejada leads it off for New York.
You know, it's interesting when Tejada's up, almost every team plays him in to take away the bunt. His former teammate Justin Turner does not, because Tejada never bunts. He does not have a lot of speed. That's the knowledge from being a teammate.
And Kershaw ahead quickly, 0-2.
They definitely got him to pull down there towards the line, almost like you're playing no doubles defense. Seager's over in the hole as well.
Eight, 9, and 1 due for the Mets here in the 5th. And there is strike 3 called. And it's strikeout number 9 for Kershaw.
Cal, he's starting to get that backdoor cutter working.
Another look at the catch by Yoenis Cespedes with our help from StatCast.
They're playing a little shallow for the pitcher. Trying to be able to come off that base hit. He had a long way to go to get it. Made it easy.
Almost pulled a Bo Jackson and climbed the wall.
That would have been a little over the top. Here's DeGrom.
You know Bo Jackson ran up the wall in Memorial Stadium, don't you?
He did.
It was against us. Yeah, we saw that firsthand. And then we went out to the wall the next day to see if we could do it. and we all got scared.
The 1-1. Well, you said it earlier. Looks hitterish up there, doesn't he, Cal?
He's
That's
taking some good
hack.
swings. Yeah, absolutely.
A.J. Ellis will talk to anybody.
He's trying to get into his head a little bit.
That's right.
Both as a hitter and DeGrom as a hitter.
One ball, 2 strikes. Here it comes. Breaking pitch. Stays alive. .72 pitches as we play here in the top half of the 5th for Clayton Kershaw.
I was trying to remember what Terry Collins told us in our pre-manager meeting. If Kershaw's got 70 pitches in what inning, we're in trouble. Seventh?
Seventh inning.
Yeah. Strikeout number 10. 2 down here in the 5th.
The backup slider or a changeup right there, Ronnie.
An interesting pitch he threw there. The first time we've seen that from Kershaw.
90 miles an hour, though.
His season high in strikeouts is 15. He's had double digits 13 times. And he has it again here tonight. Now here's Granderson.
There's that first pitch fastball take from Granderson. And here's that big shift we were talking about, mostly by left-handers.
Remember, in that shift, they moved Justin Turner to the third baseman on the right side of second base because Corey Seager has played shortstop and some third base in the minor leagues before he came up. More comfortable on the left side of the diamond.
I think, too, if you're not used to making all those shifts, you keep him in a position where his responsibility is still to chase the fly balls behind him. It still feels like short to him.
Right up the middle, a bullet by Granderson. Well, he's aboard with 2 down here in the 5th. Granderson 2 out of 3.
I thought I saw Granderson say to Goodwin there, that was a bullet.
He was right.
He was.
Kershaw yet to have a 1-2-3 inning. Here's David Wright.
Again, Wright arguing with home plate umpire Alan Porter, telling him that ball is down.
We have it down on our pitch tracks.
That's right. When you're locked in these kind of games against these kind of pitchers, you can't afford anything close to go against you.
Ball and a strike to Wright. We talked about him missing 115 games when he was activated, came back and homered in his first at bat at Philadelphia. And when they clinched the division on September 26th in a win at Cincinnati, he had a 3-run homer. So when you look at what's going on so far in this game and you look at the 4 hits for the New York Mets against the left-hander Clayton Kershaw, they've all been by left-hand hitters.
I would think left-handed hitters, especially in the fastball, it's over the top. It's not like 3/4. With movement, it's got pretty good 4-seam action to it.
You know, you try to tell yourself, don't swing at pitches out of the strike zone. But why do you chase? Because he gives it the appearance it's a strike and then bends it out of the strike zone. Likes to throw over there on that 2-2 count. That's the second time he's done that with Granderson. Almost like, don't even think of stealing. I got to concentrate on this pitch.
The 2-2. And Wright goes down swinging. Second time he struck out. 11 for Kershaw. But the Mets with a 1-0 lead. Tonight's game summary is presented by Geico. Head to the bottom half of the 5th inning. In a 1-0 game, Daniel Murphy's solo home run. The only scoring off of Clayton Kershaw. Jacob deGrom going back to work. Kershaw, by the way, 1 strikeout shy of tying his career postseason high.
The fake bunt by Crawford was interesting. As take a look at Kershaw on the bench. He used to be a player that speed was almost his entire game, defensively and offensively. Doesn't play as big a part anymore.
He used to bunt a little bit more with Tampa. Hadn't most of the time. It's a take, or just to keep the third baseman in a little closer.
Struck out his first time, popped to short his second time, and strikes out to lead off the 5th.
Second baseman, Kendrick.
He just doesn't have any chance on this one. It's by him before he knows it. Can't catch up with that high heat.
The hitters on both teams, their families at home, are starting to look away.
9 strikeouts for deGrom. And here's Howie Kendrick, who singled to right his first time and grounded out in the 3rd. Dodgers have had some base runners, just haven't been able to move them along. Ball and a strike.
And interesting too, deGrom has been working very quickly. You haven't seen any of the Dodgers, except for Kershaw once, step out of the box, try to slow him down.
Right back to him. Good hands. 2 down.
This young man's going to win some gold someday. He's an unbelievable fielder. A ball by most pitchers.
Two outs in a hurry here in the 5th, and here's Corey Seager. Ground rule double in the 3rd, a ball that Kadire had some trouble with along the line and left. 0-1.
His hand slipped off the bat on that swing.
No balls and 2 strikes. First time that Seager has faced deGrom. The regular season meetings happened in July between these two teams. The Mets taking 4 out of 7. And Seager making his debut in September.
deGrom's got low hop on his fastball, and that ball just jumps when it's up there with 2 strikes.
Tried to check. And that is a 1-2-3 inning for Jacob deGrom. 1-0 through 5. Game 1. Cubs and Cardinals, Mets and Dodgers, Sunday on MLB Network. Royals and Astros, and FS1 has got Blue Jays and the Rangers, Toronto in all kinds of trouble. First pitch of the 6th inning, hit in the air to left field. Cespedes is retired on the fly ball to the track.
Stay in the park. Stay in the park. Woo.
Here's Daniel Murphy. It did not stay in the park in his last at bat. Solo homer to lead off the 4th, the only run of the game. As we play here in the 6th, we are zipping right along. Murphy takes low, 1-0.
So taken all the way in that first pitch. Kershaw shows him fastball in. He hit a fastball 2-0. Come back with a breaking ball here.
Just a little squibber off the end of the bat. Nothing like what we saw in the 4th. This ball was smoked.
A 2-0 pitch. Gave him a chance to really sit on the fastball and look for it in his zone, and he got it.
Here comes the 1-1. In the air, shallow center. Jock Peterson. 2 down. Kershaw has had at least 2 strikeouts in every inning. Has not had a 1-2-3 inning, but has a chance here. Travis d'Arnaud grounded out his first time. Struck out in the 4th. Up the third base line. That's a fair ball. Turner on the run. Throws him out. And for the first time tonight, Kershaw gets the Mets in order. Middle of the 6th. 1-0. 10 strikeouts for Jacob deGrom. A new record for a postseason debut for the Mets. He faces Adrian Gonzalez here in the bottom half of the 6th. Fly ball, deep right along the line, bending foul.
Well, he went up there, I think, looking for an off-speed pitch. He struck out the first 2 times, and that's a 1-0 slider, but he just gets out a little too early on.
deGrom making his way toward the 100 pitch mark. He's thrown 117 for a season high, and has thrown over 117 times in his 30 starts. There's another strike to Gonzalez. 2-2.
And the key has been he's been able to handle the left-handed hitters. They're 1 for 13 tonight with 9 Ks.
That's a big-time pitch right there. 2-1 fastball, right on the outside edge.
Here comes the 2-2. Out of play on the left side. The guy on deck has had his way with deGrom. Justin Turner 2 out of 2 with a single and a double. Ran it inside. Too tight. 3-2.
Last time he was 3-2, Cal, he went with a changeup. You think he does that again?
I think he's going to go fastball away.
Good call.
And he got him swinging. That's the hat trick for Gonzalez.
That's 2 times in this game. He is just on a 3-2 count, just went right after Adrian Gonzalez.
I think it's possible that all 3 of his bats went to 3-2 and swung through the 3-2 pitch. I think 2 fastballs and a changeup.
Here's Justin Turner. First pitch swinging, and that's a lazy fly ball to right. Granderson, 2 down. It's Chevy Truck Month. Time to make a strong decision by choosing the Chevy Silverado. Chevrolet is proud to be the official vehicle of Major League Baseball.
I like Justin Turner. Hit 2 bullets off the fastball, got 2 hits off of him, and went up there and sat on the breaking ball. Just waited a little too long.
2 down now for Andre Ethier, who has struck out in his first 2 appearances tonight. And this will be pitch number 100 for Jacob deGrom.
Chris Guccione with the call on the check swing by Ethier. Said that he went around.
Pop up to third. David Wright. Another 1-2-3 inning for Jacob deGrom. We are through 6. 1-0 Mets. 2015 National League Division Series coverage on TBS is presented by T-Mobile. So glad to have you with us tonight here on TBS. And if you're a baseball fan, what a day you've had, especially if you didn't have to go to work. You could watch 4 postseason games in one day, culminating with this one. Game 1 between the Dodgers and the Mets in the NLDS. Lucas Duda leading it off against Clayton Kershaw. We are in the 7th in a 1-0 game. Only 4 hits for New York, but 1 swing has made the difference so far. Daniel Murphy's solo home run. Not totally unexpected tonight, has it been, fellas? A 1-0 game as we go to the 7th.
Kershaw's careful there on the 2-0 pitch with the slider.
I'd let him swing 3-0.
Taking 3-1. He started to first.
Wright, who's been arguing all night, still arguing on Duda's behalf. On our pitch tracks, that ball's down.
A leadoff walk in the 7th, drawn by Duda.
You know, a lot of pitchers work on deception, but sometimes it's just innate. When you watch Clayton Kershaw pitch, he does something no one else does. Watch that front foot. It just almost stops before it hits the ground, before he proceeds to the plate. Almost like as a young child when you're trying to put your kickstop down on your bicycle. Stops, and that little deception, delay, is what makes it so difficult for the hitters to get their timing.
Here's Michael Kadire. Runner at first, nobody out. He takes a strike 0-1.
Yeah, I can't remember any pitcher that does exactly the same, but there are some that actually push out and short arm the ball, which gives the perception of the ball getting on you faster. It's messing with your timing.
Breaking pitch. Missed outside, a ball and a strike.
It's tough for the third base coach, giving the signs to Kadire. You don't have a lot of speed at first. You don't have a lot of speed on this Mets team.
I think most of those are just decoys right now.
On the ground toward third. Turner's going to have one play, and that's to first, 1 down. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything Goodyear has learned making tires that go the distance inspires what they roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven.
I mean, he didn't want to, but that almost serves like a sacrifice bunt for Michael Kadire, who hadn't had one since 2005. Just a swinging bunt almost.
It moves Duda up to second and brings Tejada to the plate. Addison Reed loosening in the Mets bullpen. Jacob deGrom is in the on-deck circle. Tejada, strikeout victim in his first 2 trips, takes a strike 0-1. Terry Collins Mets with a 1-0 lead, trying to add on here in the 7th against Kershaw.
You're in a strange predicament here. You can't pinch run for Lucas Duda. He's your best fielding first baseman. You can't pinch hit for Ruben Tejada. He's your best shortstop. Michael Kadire, who just made an out at first base, he's probably going to be replaced in the outfield as you start to get your defensive team out on the ball field.
Kershaw with a bluff back to second. Nobody covering, but Duda back in on his stomach. The 0-2 stayed alive.
You know, you have a hard decision to make. But you see Baez up for the Los Angeles Dodgers with DeGrom on deck. I think for the Mets, if they think they're going to win this series, if they're going to push themselves further on in the postseason, they're going to have to ask these young pitchers to go further and further than they have all season.
So you think there's a good chance he hits this inning?
Yes, especially if Tejada gets on, then he can bunt.
One ball, 2 strikes to the Mets shortstop.
There's that backdoor slider, trying to bring it back just to the edge. It stayed off the plate. Good call.
Kershaw now at the century mark. Here comes pitch number 101. And that missed. 2-2. 2009, Kershaw got roughed up by the Philadelphia Phillies, and before his next start taught himself in the bullpen at Wrigley Field how to throw a slider. A.J. Ellis says it's what took him from good pitcher to great pitcher. 3 Cy Youngs later, who's going to argue? Duda with the lead at second. The 2-2. Missed again, and the count full.
Kershaw trying to go for the punch out, pitching around the periphery of the strike zone, but Tejada not biting.
I got to believe this is one of those sliders.
Grounded foul right over the head of Tim Tuffle, who's outside the third base coaching box, about halfway to the plate.
Well, the third base coaches will get that close because in a big situation or any situation with a guy in second, they're trying to get as far down so they can get a read on whether they want to send the runner home on a base hit.
Yeah, it's to delay their decision until they see if he comes up with the ball. He's definitely going to be the eyes for the runner on second.
The 3-2. Upstairs, ball 4, 2-on.
Pitcher, Jacob DeGrom.
So Kershaw, who had walked David Wright in the first, hadn't walked another hitter until the 7th. Now Duda and Tejada are aboard with 1 out.
So you're pretty certain he's going to sack bunt here, huh?
Well, he is a good hitter, and we gave you the number against left-handed pitching, but this isn't any just left-handed pitcher. You're trying to add on some runs. You've got to push these runners to second and third with a bunt.
Looks like Turner's expecting it, but Agon is back behind the first base.
He squares and takes 1-0.
Adrian Gonzalez now creeps into the grass.
Now with his pitchers in the regular season, because they're all good hitters and good athletes, a lot of runs batted in. When they've got ahead in the count, occasionally Collins lets him swing the bat. I think he should be bunting here.
He lays it down. Turner will make the play and throw him out. Perfect bunt by DeGrom, and they're at second and third.
Perfect bunt, and in a sacrifice situation, a perfect bunt cannot lead to a hit. So good play by Turner, playing in, coming in and making that play and getting the out.
I mean, perfect execution all around. DeGrom had 4 sacrifices during the regular season, 1 here now in the post.
And that brings up Curtis Granderson, who's 2 out of 3 and hit an absolute bullet his last time right up the middle. And as you saw, the one Mets starter not to strike out tonight against Clayton Kershaw. Huge moment here. Runners at second and third.
There's that fastball in the first pitch again. This time he was playing possum. He swung at it.
I told you before, to end the regular season, 72 straight plate appearances without swinging at the first pitch. He's done it twice in this game.
Ball and a strike. And very important too with A.J. Ellis back there with a runner at third to knock everything down. Kept that in front with Duda at third and Tejada at second. Kershaw a strike away from getting out of a major trouble spot here in the 7th. Dodgers with 3 fielders on the right side. Only Seager on the left side of the infield against Granderson. Two and two.
He hadn't been at 95 until the last 2 pitches. Reached back for a little extra, try to make it right on the outside corner.
Kershaw from Dallas, Texas, trying to play a little country hardball.
Full count, 3 and 2.
Curtis Granderson is really picking up the ball well. Didn't flinch on that breaking ball.
And I think with first base open in this kind of ball game where the Dodgers are trailing by 1 with right up, and he's pitched pretty well against right, don't expect a fastball if you're Granderson. Might not be coming.
Here comes the 3-2. Stays alive.
Granderson got a hit on the curveball. He jammed it into left center field and then hit a bullet on a fastball up the middle.
Kershaw has walked a couple here in the 7th. This will be his 25th pitch. Ball 4, they are loaded. And Kershaw wanted that desperately.
Boy, if you're the pitching coach, Rick Honeycutt, you know that you have one of the more elite guys out there. But it'd be a nice time to go out and give him a blow. That's a tough at-bat. He went after Granderson. Wright's up next. And here comes Mattingly.
Don Mattingly is already motion to the bullpen. And Pedro Baez will walk into a bases loaded situation here in the 7th inning in a 1-0 game. We'll be back.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Now
Let's take a look at tonight's playmakers presented by Chrysler. Texas Rangers with Adrian Beltre out. Hanser Alberto comes through in the 14th inning. The Rangers lead that series 2-0. Salvador Perez helping Kansas City even their series with the Astros. And great start by John Lackey. 7 1/3. He shuts out the Cubs in a 4-0 game in game 1 of that NLDS. 6 2/3 for Clayton Kershaw. The runners on base, and they're loaded. All belong to him as Pedro Baez comes on to try to pitch out of it.
I personally was surprised that he was taken out. Right-handed hitters were 0 for 13 against Kershaw tonight, but he might have to come back in game 4 on 3 days rest. Maybe that's why he made the decision. Baez, you look at his numbers, only 11 walks, 60 strikeouts in 51 innings. Baez throws 100 mile an hour at time with a good forkball and slider.
There you see the runners. David Wright at the plate. Wright, the only Met who was here in 2006, last time they were in the playoffs, and they swept the Dodgers 3-0 in the NLDS.
And I don't believe Wright has ever faced Baez. Advantage to the pitcher.
You see the pitch arsenal with our Chevrolet pitch tracks. No place to put David Wright. With a Met on every base and 2 out here in the 7th in a 1-0 game, and that's inside. 2 balls and no strikes.
First batters faced this season by Baez, his only Achilles heel, 320.
Davis had a chance to see 2 fastballs, both for balls. I'm sure he'll be laying for a fastball right here.
He's walked tonight. He's struck out twice. He hits with the bases loaded. In the air, down the line and right, but foul.
There's your 100 mile an hour.
Bearded J.P. Howell, the veteran left-hander, in the Dodger pen. Huge opportunity here in the 7th for the New York Mets to build on a 1-0 lead. Take advantage of 3 walks by Clayton Kershaw, whose night is over after 6 2/3. Baez to right. Missed again, 3-1.
You know, we always talk about the starting pitchers coming into this game and the nerves that you have to battle. How about this young man coming into this situation? Never probably pictured that he'd be coming in with the bases loaded.
Put yourself in David Wright's shoes, Cal.
You want to get a pitch. He laid off the first 2. Wants to make sure it's out over the plate where his strengths are.
Fouled back. 3-2.
Good pitch by Baez.
Got a little anxious there and chased the ball in the inside part.
It was pretty gutsy to throw a strike there with some good sinking action.
So you got a 1-0 game. You're in the 7th. You got towels waving. You got the bases loaded and 2 outs and a full count. Runners will be on the move. Line drive up the middle, base hit. Tejada's going to score. 2-run score for the Mets. And David Wright, the captain, comes up big here in the 7th. It's a 3-0 game.
Just great hitting right here. Looks out over the plate. Lines it straight back up the middle. Drives in 2. And the runner's running.
You don't think that means something to number 5 and the bench reaction? Big 2-out hit by Wright.
The New York Mets with a 3-0 lead now, and runners at the corners for Cespedes. There's a strike from Baez, 0-1. Last year in the NLDS against the Cardinals, the Dodgers allowed 13 runs in the 7th inning of that series. They've allowed 2 big ones here in the 7th of Game 1 against the Mets. Oh, and 2.
Ellis coming out in front of the plate to let his defense know if David Wright at first base takes off and tries a little college play, 1st and 3rd, what they're going to do with the ball, whether they throw it through or not.
Curtis Granderson, the runner, at 3rd. David Wright at 1st after a huge 2-out knock. There goes Wright. Cespedes cuts right through it. That'll do it for the Mets in their half of the 7th, but they add to the lead. David Wright, bases loaded single, 3-0 Mets. Here we are inside the booth. Some Game 1 here between the Dodgers and the Mets as we go to the bottom half of the 7th inning. And fellas, David Wright just coming through after they're able to get to Kershaw, work 3 walks, load the bases, get into the pen, And now it's 3-0.
Well, I mean, David Wright's a good RBI guy. Was patient enough to get ahead in the count and then pick a pitch where he can drive the ball up the middle. So big hit. 3 walks. We're still questioning whether you would have left Kershaw in the ball game or not, because I think he pitched around or just didn't want to give in, and he felt comfortable with the matchup with Wright.
You saw those defensive changes. That's what the Mets usually do. Juan Lagares goes to center field. Cespedes moves over to left. But I think even more importantly, Cal, you're talking about the captain of the team that really saw the mortality of his career flashing before his eyes. He didn't know if he'd ever play for this team again, ever be back on the baseball diamond again, and got him back in August, and he gets this hit now.
DeGrom goes full on A.J. Ellis, who leads off here in the bottom half of the 7th inning. In the air to right. Granderson over. Lagares over. Lagares, the Gold Glover a year ago, calls him off, and that's out number 1.
Center fielder, number 31, Josh Peterson.
That'll bring up the number 8 hitter, Jock Peterson. Chase Utley has grabbed a bat. He's in the on-deck circle. Peterson intentionally walked in the 2nd. Flied out to left in the 4th. There is Chase Utley, the longtime Philadelphia Philly, reunited with Jimmy Rollins in Los Angeles this year. Peterson wants time.
Not a bad thought there by Peterson. Dodgers need some base runners.
He had Tejada charging. Tejada the only Met on the left side of the infield. Peterson waved at that. 2-2.
I suspect you'll see that as a weapon more and more against the shift in the playoffs, where you need to get runners on, need to get something started.
Addison Reed, Tyler Clippard loosening in the Mets bullpen. As Jacob DeGrom has worked into the 7th.
I said before, 117 was his high this year. He's gone to a full count on the first 2 hitters.
Right off the mask of Darno.
Still maintaining 97 in the 7th.
And Ronnie, you know better than anybody that you were in a game most of the way here where one swing ties it up, and now you've got the luxury of a 3-1 lead.
Got to go after him.
Fouled back. And we'll do it again.
Sometimes the score dictates how you pitch. And 3-2 in the regular season in a closer game with all the home runs, 26 that Peterson hit, you might have to be more careful with him. But here you try to pitch him away. You hope he hits it to the biggest part of the park and that it stays in the ballpark.
Here comes the changeup.
Off the end of the bat, stays alive.
Or you should really forget about what I said. Totally wrong.
I found out over the years there's less and less guys that actually pitch to the game situation. They want to stay with what they think they can get people out, regardless of the score. If your best pitch is your fastball and you're getting it over.
He got him. 2 up and 2 down. Some of the sights and sounds here of game 1.
What was that first pitch?
The first
That was a good swing right there.
Ooh,
That was
if
nice.
I would have been here, trying to get that hole. I would have.
Curtis Granderson.
I wanted to hear him say that was a bullet.
Yeah, that was with Tom Goodwin, the first base coach. I think first base coaches are there really to kind of build you up.
Well, here's Chase Utley on the pinch hit with 2 down in the 7th.
First base coach is like a caddy, Ernie. When you ask him, is the 2 balls right? He said, of course it is.
Utley played 34 games in the Dodger uniform. 202, 3 home runs, 9 runs batted in. And he's behind 1-2. Dozen strikeouts for Jacob deGrom. And this will be pitch number 120.
I don't know why, Cal, but I always find it awkward when I watch a player that's one of the best players of his generation then become a bench player. It's just strange to see. But it happens to everyone.
I would never really begrudge him for staying in the game.
No,
He's
no.
still competing for that spot and still has a little bit left in his tank.
13 strikeouts for Jacob deGrom. We are through 7 innings, and the Mets lead game 1, 3-0.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent.
How's that for a postseason debut? Jacob deGrom shutting out the Dodgers at Chavez Ravine through 7 innings with 13 strikeouts, 1 walk. That was intentional. Set down the last 11 he faced. My goodness. Joel Peralta, the 3rd Dodger pitcher.
Veteran right-hander. Had a pretty good year here for the Dodgers.
Daniel Murphy in there. He homered. That was back in the 4th. And gave the Mets a 1-0 lead. Stayed that way until the 7th when they chased Kershaw and got a big 2-out, 2-run single with the bases loaded from David Wright, excuse me. This is Murphy at the plate.
Only a number that's a problem for Peralta. You saw those 6 home runs given up in limited innings.
Hit on the button to right. Ethier makes a sliding catch for the first out.
It's a sinking line drive. Ethier comes in and makes a nice shoestring catch. One of the harder ones to read is one right at you. Pitcher always appreciates that, doesn't he?
Next day it's a pop-up.
Now here's the catcher, Travis d'Arnaud. We talked about that opportunity to play in this ballpark, close to where he grew up. And growing up a Dodger fan. This was in the air to the left field. Crawford's there. 2 down. But what d'Arnaud said was that 8-year-old inside of me is always going to be there. And you kind of love the innocence of a statement like that, and just the how much he appreciates where he is right now. He's got a brother playing in the big leagues as well. Chase is with the Phillies. And here he is in the MLB postseason. Peralta gets the first 2, and here's Duda. He got things started in the 7th inning when he drew a walk from Kershaw. That Kershaw walked 3 that inning. And with the bases loaded, his night was done. Pedro Baez came on, and David Wright greeted him with the 2-run single.
Well, for Peralta, he used to be a very hard thrower. Now has to mix it up a lot more. Breaking ball you just saw there, but his changeup is usually his best weapon, especially against the left-handed hitter.
Those less than 50% fastballs.
Duda way out in front on the changeup. 2-1.
I think where the fastball used to set up the changeup, now I think the changeup sets up his fastball.
Dodgers will have the top of the order in their half of the 8th, trying to do something about this 3-0 deficit. Count even, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
It's funny, Cal, early in your career, when you get in trouble, you go harder. Later in your career, when you get in trouble, you try to go softer.
There's a quick pitch right there.
1-2-3 inning for Peralta. Tyler Clippard on in relief when we come back. Cubs and Cardinals on TBS at 5:30 Eastern on Saturday. Mets and Dodgers here from Chavez Ravine at 9 o'clock Eastern. MLB Network on Sunday has the Royals and Astros, and FS1 has got the Blue Jays and Rangers. That's a 2-0 lead for Texas, winning a couple on the road.
Tyler Clippard comes in, only 1 run given up in 6 innings of work with 7 strikeouts, all of those with the Nationals.
Carl Crawford leads it off. 1-0.
The opponent average always interests me when the reliever comes in. Kind of tells you what kind of stuff he has. 186. The league is hitting off of him.
To right field. Granderson makes the catch. 1 down.
And sometimes you got to have a little luck on your side. Clippard had kind of 2 seasons with the Mets. When he first came over, his first 20 games almost unhittable. Then he had some issues with his back, some back spasms, and gave up 4 home runs over his next 12 games. But this time off usually can help not only the players, but the pitchers also.
Yeah, that minuscule ERA in those first 20, 0.46, and then 7.11 from September 6th on. But he certainly made a great first impression.
You know, Clippard, if you're matching up, Crawford was 2 for 3 with a homer on him. He hit the ball hard to right field. Kendrick is 2 for 3 off of him. So 2 guys that have seen him pretty good so far.
Kendrick to the gap in left center field. That ball's going to get down, and Kendrick's going to have extra bases. Runner at second, 1 out. And here comes the kid.
Well, 4-seam fastball, Cal, up in the zone.
You know, many times, sometimes the stats are a little deceiving, but the hitters usually know who they're comfortable facing.
Seager has a ground rule double on a ball that Kadire had trouble with right on the line. He's also struck out twice.
Darnell right out to see Clippard. The one thing I've seen from Clippard that's a little different from his time when he did his best work with the Nationals, his fastball hasn't had as much zip on it upstairs. His changeup has still been good, but if you don't have the fastball to work off of, sometimes not as effective.
Well, he had 32 saves back in 2012 for the Nats. One ball, no strikes.
Any kind of trouble that Clippard gets in. Jerry Reese Familia had 3 saves this year or 5 outs. 5 saves that were 4 or more outs. So he's up getting high.
Kendrick with a lead at second. Tejada right behind him.
Roles get expanded in the postseason. And if you're a closer, you're expected to go more than 3 outs. 4, 5, 6. Starters are expected to get there to the 7th inning like tonight. DeGrom did a nice job turning it over to the bullpen in the 8th.
In the air, shallow right. Murphy back and calling, squeezes it for the second out.
First baseman, number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
Big out for Clippard right there.
You know, when you're talking about multiple saves, as you see this fastball jam Seager, you're right, Cal. The old adage from managers in the postseason, hey, this is how we've done it all season long, that's been thrown out the window. You do whatever you can to win tonight's game. Figure out tomorrow.
And you bring that up in a ballpark where a couple of years ago, the Atlanta Braves trying to force a Game 5 back in Atlanta with the lead in the 8th inning. Craig Kimbrell warming up, didn't go to him. Juan Uribe made him pay with a game-winning home run in the 8th. And you still remember the sight of Kimbrell, arms folded, looking back on the field as Uribe circled the bases.
It was like he threw down the rosin bag and was mouthing, "You guys know I'm ready, right?"
Adrian Gonzalez waiting on a 1-0 from Tyler Clippard. Into left field, that ball's going to get down and it's going to score a run. Kendrick will trot home and it is 3-1.
Like a changeup out over the plate. He likes to stay on the ball, go to the opposite field in RBI situations, lines it down the left field line, drives in Kendrick. I think he was really happy to get DeGrom out of the game.
You heard Ron talk about it. 4-out saves, not out of the ordinary for Familia. He's into the game here in the 8th. We'll be back. Let's take a look at tonight's forecaster presented by FanDuel. How important is winning game 1 on a best of 5? 72% chance of winning it if you can take that opener. Mets are trying to do that here at Dodger Stadium. But the Dodgers have gotten on the board here in the 8th. And now Justin Turner represents the tying run at the plate. Jeurys Familia is on for the Mets. He's their closer.
You add up those saves, they add up to 43, which ties a franchise record with Armando Benitez. Good first pitch slider.
Turner went 2 out of 3 against Jacob deGrom, who went 7 shutout innings, 5 hits, 13 strikeouts. Now the Mets bullpen trying to make it stand up.
We talked earlier about Curtis Granderson didn't know till 4 hours before the first game that he was going to be the leadoff hitter for this Mets team. Well, Jeurys Familia, as you see Kelly Johnson, who came into second base, Murph over to first. Familia didn't know he was going to be the closer till his good friend Henry Mejia was suspended in April.
PED use put him on the shelf. 1 ball, 1 strike. Soft liner into the glove of Murphy. And that'll do it for the Dodgers in the 8th. Familia does his job. Dodgers on the board, but still trail by 2. Stay tuned after the game for the postseason show on TBS presented by the Lincoln Motor Company. Chris Hatcher.
A big man with a big arm. Clayton Kershaw went 6 2/3, gave up 3 runs. Baez pitched a third of an inning. Peralta an inning, and now Hatcher on to pitch the 9th.
He was part of that deal with Miami when D. Gordon was traded to Miami. There's the man of the hour. If you're a New York Mets fan, Jacob deGrom with a 13 strikeout postseason debut, allowing 5 hits, shutting out the Dodgers through 7 on the road.
His fastball was the big punch-out pitch early. Then that changeup really started to become effective late.
Juan Lagares on the ground is short. Seager, low throw, but Adrian Gonzalez is so solid over there, and he made that pick easily.
Well, it was just a thing of beauty to watch deGrom tonight, having to go up against Kershaw and throw zeros. He had the fastball up early. He was throwing 99, 98, 97 miles an hour, and then he developed a good changeup later in the game, some sliders. We talk about the records in postseason now, postseason debut. No one struck out more in the postseason than Tom Seaver and Jacob deGrom with 13. That's doing something.
I will say, here's Ruben Tejada.
And if you're a Dodger fan, you're hoping Hatcher can give you a clean inning after scoring a run in the 8th and try to give a big finish. Remember, Familia, this is his first postseason game.
Tejada was one of 3 Mets to walk in the 7th against Kershaw and one of 2 to score. Hatcher ahead in the count. No balls and 2 strikes. Vying for those man of the hour honors also is David Wright, who came up with that huge bases loaded single with 2 out that made it 3-0. And don't forget Daniel Murphy's solo home run that got the Mets on the board, and that came in the 4th. The 0-2 from Hatcher to Tejada, and he struck him out. 3rd time Tejada has been a strikeout victim on the night.
There's a lot of Ks on the scorebook tonight. I was just thinking, a lot of scoring opportunities. This is just a hard fastball, a little up in the strike zone.
Ernie, check my math. 27.
Yeah, that's 14 on 14 Mets who have gone down. 13 on the other side. You're the guy who went to Yale. You're asking me to check your math. What's wrong with this picture? Here's Kelly Johnson.
I was looking forward to seeing Seager play shortstop tonight, and then he didn't get any plays until just that last one, and his arm wasn't loose because he had no reps. A lot of strikeouts.
Kelly Johnson on the ground to first. Gonzalez. That is a 1-2-3 inning for Chris Hatcher. The Dodgers have one more chance. We head to the bottom of the 9th. 2015 National League Division Series coverage on TBS is presented by T-Mobile. Last chance for the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 1. They trailed 3-1. Jayuris Familia, who came on and got the last out of the 8th. Back out there to look for a 4-out save.
To tell you how different it is in the postseason, the best reliever of all time, Mariano Rivera, had 652 saves. Only 11 of those in the regular season came on 4 or more outs. 31 of his 42 saves in the postseason were 4 or more outs.
You really can't do that during the regular season by playing every single day. And Mariano was the best, period, but the best in the playoffs.
Okay, we've had a beach ball earlier. We've got a hat now on the warning track.
I like that center fielder Lagares is saying, you know, you get it. I'm not getting it.
You know, the off days allow you to kind of keep people fresh in the bullpen. The season does not allow you to do that.
Andre Ethier will lead off. I see Jimmy Rollins with a bat. He's in the on-deck circle. He would pinch hit for A.J. Ellis. A strike from Familia, 0-1.
Speaking of, I saw Joe Torre walking through the stands, and in Mariano, the times that he didn't seem like Super Mariano was when he was asked to close 2-inning games early in the season, and then he started to get hit a little bit.
That's the split finger that Familia picked up in the second part of the season. 93 miles an hour to go along with that sinker and slider.
Wow.
Why he's adapted to getting more than 1 innings of outs for saves? He was a starter his entire career. He'd been used to sitting down and having to get back up and go out there.
98 up and away. A ball and 2 strikes. He just did get a piece.
And that's the split right there.
That's the split.
94.
The way you say that, Cal, sounds like you're happy to be up here.
Yeah. That's filthy, what that is.
Adrian Gonzalez and the Dodgers hoping for some 9th-inning magic. Here in Game 1, down 3-1.
Here it comes again.
Rounded to first. Murphy will win the race, 1 down.
Well, he's got a hard sinker, and that split finger, when it's down, there's nothing you can do except hit it on the ground.
Noah Syndergaard gets the ball in Game 2 against Zach Greinke.
Well, Greinke's had an amazing year this year.
Rollins pitch hitting here for A.J. Ellis. Dodgers need a base runner. You got Peterson on deck who can hit the ball a mile. Down 2.
You see his average. He didn't have a good regular season, but he always has a good regular season against the Mets.
And quickly Familia jumping out 0-2. With 6 games to go in the regular season, excuse me, Cal, the Mets had a 2-game lead for the best record in this matchup to host the first 2 games of this series. But they saw that lead vanish in the last week of the season, had to open up here. But they're 2 outs away as Murphy makes a great diving stop and the flip Now they're 1 out away from taking game 1 of the NLDS.
What a game by Murphy. The home run, and now this play to his right.
Nice dive, good presence to get up, good flip to Familia covering first base.
Started tonight at second base. They made the double switch. He moved to first when Kelly Johnson moved to second, and that was a huge play to keep the bases empty.
With Peterson up, you've got to have a defense that takes the bunt away with a 2-run lead. You have to. Tejada's got to come in more at third base.
Right at the edge of the grass, still in the dirt, with 3 Met infielders on the right side. Peterson takes a strike.
I'm sorry, Ernie. It looked like there a little confusion, and then all of a sudden common sense came in and said, okay, we got a 2-run lead. I can't give him a bunt, give him a base runner to put the tying run at home plate.
Count even, a ball and a strike. Yasmani Grandal has a bat, and he's in the on-deck circle. May very well see him behind the plate in game 2 on Saturday. Grandal. Here comes the 1-1. Fouled off at the plate, and the Mets are a strike away.
Kershaw with a shake of his head.
Strike away from Kershaw, falling to 1-6 in his postseason career. Just missed 2-2.
Well, we saw a quick pitch from Joel Peralta. Familia will also do the quick pitch that he picked up from LaTroy Hawkins when Hawkins was a Met. Shakes off the sinker. Wants to go to that split finger.
And time called before the 2-2 is delivered.
You can see it in his glove. You can see a little space between his fingers on the grip. He must not split his fingers too wide to throw 94.
Nibbled at the corner and missed, and the count is full.
Ronnie?
I mean, I would throw a fastball with a 2-run lead when he throw 98.
Tapper fielded by Familia, and that is game 1. The New York Mets, in their first postseason game since 2006, hit the road to Dodger Stadium and take game 1, 3-1.
Murphy was going to be a free agent at the end of the year with a big home run to get the Mets started. David Wright with a big 2-out hit. And Jacob deGrom, what do you say? 13 punch-outs over 7 innings.
A lot of head shaking by the hitters tonight's game. Not a lot of scoring opportunities, but David Wright came up big with that base hit with the bases loaded. Kershaw got himself in trouble with the 3 walks, and they took advantage of it.
I told you earlier, 72% of teams that win game 1 go on to win the series. This was a huge win on the road, and road teams have been telling the story so far in this 2015 postseason.
Don't make excessive noise, and please do not litter. And as always, drive sober.
Well, Sam Ryan is down there with Jacob deGrom. Sam, take it away.
Jacob, all smiles now. Your first career postseason start. What was the tension like out there?
There was a lot of tension, you know, and I knew they had Kershaw going, and I knew it would be a close game. So I was trying to get early outs, and I look up in the second inning, and my pitch count was way up. And from then on out, I tried to just get strike one and go from there.
It was getting up there, but then the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, you worked a lot quicker. What was the difference for you?
I think just mixing it up a little more, you know, trying to get quick outs, and I got a few ground balls and a couple pop-ups on first pitches. So
when Clayton Kershaw is sending them down just as well, how much does that fuel you?
It fuels me a lot, you know, seeing what he's doing over there, and I'm just trying to match what he's doing. So that was my whole goal tonight. Okay, so 13 strikeouts, 3 of them Adrian Gonzalez. The third time, we go to the 6th, 3-2 count. What's your thought process? Make a good pitch. Don't leave something over the plate that he can hit. You know, I think he's got 2 home runs off me, so I just didn't want that to happen. So I was just trying to make a good pitch in the 3-2 count and try to get a ground ball, really, is what my goal was there. Congratulations, Jacob. Thank you very much. Back to you guys.
When we arrived at the ballpark today, it was 100 degrees. We said, think cool thoughts. You know what a cool thought is? Jason deGrom. That is a cool customer in winning his postseason debut and giving the Mets the early advantage in this best-of-5. Our final score, Mets 3, Dodgers 1. For Ron Darling, for Cal Ripken, Sam Ryan, and the rest of the crew, Ernie Johnson saying good night from Los Angeles. TBS is your home for the National League postseason. Following a quick break, stay tuned for the postseason show on TBS presented by the Lincoln Motor Company. Game 1 in the books. The Mets up in this best-of-5.